When I was creating this course, I looked at this topic and I said, well, this is going to be another one of those nuggets that's love it or hate it. We're going to talk about the Windows Store and the Windows Store for business. What I mean here by loving it or hating it is this is a separate ecosystem, if you will, for applications, and some administrators ban it. I'm going to show you how to completely kill off the Windows Store should you need to. I think what we're looking at here when we launch the Windows Store on a Windows 10 desktop is Microsoft's answer to the App Store in an Apple environment. Notice when we launch it, we've got all this like entertainment that we could purchase, things of that nature, like an iTunes situation. But if we go to apps, notice there are apps in here, and we used to call these full screen apps, but as we'll see in a moment, there's really no distinguishing characteristic between them and a desktop app. So let's go in here. We've got this great countdown to app deals, and I see this Karaoke One, and I say, oh, I just have to have it. I go ahead and install this product from an install button. Notice one of the things about the Windows Store, the end user they're very comfortable in this environment, especially if they're coming from an Apple environment. It's so simple, right? They click the install button. Now there's a launch button, and they go ahead and they launch their application. Notice it did not launch in full screen. So that's interesting. Like I said, this is tough to distinguish between this and a regular desktop app. Notice our controls over here that are apparent. So this thing is very easy to work with. And in fairness to Microsoft, I think all of that happened because it recognized that I was in a desktop environment as opposed to a tablet. So pretty cool. So we decide, you know what? We just don't like this Karaoke One app. So we want to get rid of it. So that's where things start to get a little interesting, because if we come here to the apps panel, there's nothing involving uninstalling that application. And this is even more troubling. If we go to where we would normally be able to uninstall this, if we go into programs and features and we look for our karaoke app, we see it is not there. So you can see where things get very interesting with the Windows Store, and that's why I referred to it as being its own app ecosystem inside of Windows 10. So to answer the question of how do we get rid of it, notice that Karaoke One is in the recently added section of my start menu. You can control, of course, whether or not there is a recently added section of your start menu, and we covered that when we covered the start menu. Anyways, if I right-click Karaoke One, notice I can uninstall right from here. So that's how we're going to get rid of Windows apps that we've installed. Now, if this App Store from Microsoft is really to compete with the App Store that we have in an Apple environment, it better be able to upgrade or update these apps automatically for us. And that is exactly what it's doing by default. So our Karaoke One app, if we had kept it, would update by default. Now, what if you don't want that? What if you want to manually trigger the updating of applications? Well, in your Windows Store, go to your account settings. And what you do is go under here and say settings, and then notice this is how we can control whether our apps are going to update automatically. And now you'll be manually updating your applications. How do you do that? Well, again, you go back to your account symbol here and you go into downloads and updates, and it's going to show you any apps that are ready for updates. There's a check for updates button that you can use in order to see if there's any pending updates for your applications, and then you can manually trigger them. Now, if you have multiple drives in your system, you can change where the Windows apps are stored. Watch how easy this is to do. Notice we're in Windows Settings, and I'm going to go to System Storage, and it's right here. It says New Apps Will Save To. You can choose the drive where these Windows Store apps are going to be stored. You can even move apps. So if you go up to Apps and Features, you could come in here, find the Windows Store app that you want to move, and just select it and choose the Move button. It's, of course, grayed out right now because I have a single C drive, so that's the only option for storing that application. Now, as I alluded to in the introduction, in environments where administrators want lots of control, they're going to despise the Windows Store. So what they do is they turn it off. And as you might guess, how you turn off the Windows Store is through group policy. Specifically, you come under user configuration and you go to the administrative templates. We know there's the Windows component node in here, and if you scroll down, there's the store. Notice that we can turn off the store application easily within group policy. Something else that's pretty cool is only display the private store within the Windows Store app. This allows a business to roll out their applications through the Windows Store. How clever, and block all of that public media that would be presented to users. Now, another great option for businesses is to create their own Windows Store apps and just silently push those down to desktops. This process is called side loading, and you have to make sure your Windows 10 system permits it. That's easy. Under Windows Settings, we go to Update and Security, and then we go in the For Developers area. I've always wanted to go in here. So under the For Developers, whoop, and it just crashed. That's awesome. Let's try that again. So I'm going to go to Settings. I'm going to go to Update and Security. I think that's the first crash we've had in all of these nuggets. That's amazing. Shows you just how stable Windows 10 is. We're going to go into the For Developers area. By the way, it must have detected that I'm not a developer. That's amazing. And under the Use Developer Features, notice that we do permit sideload apps. So a developer is going to create a Windows Store app, and then they're going to be pushing it down to this Windows 10 desktop. You're probably interested in the steps, even though you don't require knowledge of them for certification. I know you're probably interested in how apps are created and sideloaded. So I've created a link for you in the supplemental files. It's called sideloading.txt. Check it out if you want more information. Now, another link that I'm going to provide you is called Windows Store for Business.txt in the supplemental files. And it's going to bring you here to the Windows IT Center, where you can get all the information you might possibly need on Windows Store for Business. This is a neat idea. It's for the volume purchases of these apps in an organization. And it also makes available that private store where you can deploy your business apps easily from the Windows Store for Business. So if you're interested in this, I've again got that link for you in the supplemental files. Just be aware of it as an option for certification. You don't need to know any of the processes for sign up or anything like that. So in this nugget, you and I took a detailed look at the Windows Store, and we also discussed the Windows Store for Business, and we just went through how it operates. We really looked at the default Windows Store in depth and how that's going to operate in a Windows 10 environment. Of course, we also saw how you could kill off this functionality. I hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.